Our fearless leader Jimmy and his family are in Arkansas. They drove about 24 hours down there, and I believe they made it. They didn't text me back, but I'm sure they made it and they're fine. Had a good Christmas service. Today we're going to be talking a little bit, obviously we're going to be talking about Jesus, right? Being that it is sort of, quote, the day of his birth. We really don't know when he was born, approximately 2,000 years ago. Before I get started, I do want to just let you know that next week's service is at 11 a.m. again for New Year's Day. Okay? Also, on a side note, we have a lot of sermons that are coming up online. For those of you who missed the service, or for those of you in Kids Kingdom, they are being updated on the church website, but they also are on a separate sermon audio site. So for those of you who want to just be able to share some of the sermons, it's at this website here. Okay? The title of my lesson today is, alright, thank you. The title of my lesson today is Ever Since He Was Born. Ever since Jesus was born. And before I get into it, I do want to just share a video here. And it's just a humorous video. We'll get it to play. Obviously, it's a modern-day version of the Nativity. I don't know if many of you have seen it, but I saw it the other day, and I was like, ooh, I want to share that with our church. 1 Peter chapter 1, ever since he was born. Have you ever heard a parent say that? Ever since my child was born, he or she has been this way. Maybe it's because they have a love for animals. Ever since my daughter was born, she's just loved animals. Or maybe ever since my son was born, he's always been active, so he always has to do something where he's dancing, or maybe he has to play a sport or whatever. And why do parents say that? Perhaps it's because they are proud of their son or daughter. They're proud, and so when they look back, as the child grows up to become a teenager, they look back and say, wow, that quality has been with them since birth. Or maybe perhaps it's not so positive. Maybe, oh yeah, ever since they were born, they're a little bit mischievous. Or maybe ever since they were born, they seem to want to get their hands on things, and man, he never had self-control. You know, it can be positive or negative. And so with Jesus, it's the same thing. Ever since Jesus was born, or even before his birth, we all know that he's had a quality about him that's been talked about since birth. Okay? Does that make sense? Ever since Jesus was born, there was always something about him that was going to be communicated, a quality, a character trait that shows who he really was. And so now we're going to have the video. Is Joseph logging in his Facebook account? He updates his status.
Oh come, Emmanuel, and ransom captive Israel that mourns lonely Elohim until the Son of God appears.
Amen. That was the modern day version of the nativity. It's pretty exciting. I know that I have friends and family on Facebook, and whenever some of them have children that are born, and that's the only thing you see on Facebook, the pictures of the child, you know, things that they're doing, and you know, there's a little video of my nephew who was born 2 years ago. He was fetching a frisbee with his mouth. I mean, there's something about when a child is born, it's just a special time. And you know, when Jesus was born, it was a special time for Joseph and Mary. So ever since he was born, here's my only point. Ever since Jesus was born, Jesus always had a heart and a plan to forgive. This is the quality that has been evident before he was born, when he was born, as he grew up, and then of course when he died. And if there's anything you need to have an understanding of today, it's this understanding that Jesus came to forgive sins. In 1 Peter chapter 1, in verse 13 it says, prepare your minds for action. Prepare your minds for action. You know, today's lesson is not just sort of knowledge. You have to prepare your mind to put it into practice. Yes, we come to celebrate the birth of Jesus, and we come to celebrate what he did to forgive us for all sins, but really we're here to walk away from this Christmas service feeling inspired to change, to do something different, to have action follow what we learned today. Here's the word forgive. They talked about it in communion. The word forgive is a noun, an adverb, a verb, or adjective. What's the answer? It's a verb. It's an action. 1 Peter 1:13. To forgive is an action. When Jesus forgave us, he gave a lot of action. There was a lot of action behind that. Okay? When sort of what Jeannie Bond was talking about, she had to pray about it. She had to, you know, get frustrated a little bit. Then she had to go back down. She shared scriptures with her mom. And then I'm sure they hugged and reconciled. When they reconciled, there was an action involved there. I appreciate her story. It was perfect. It went right into my lesson. Thank you, Jeannie. He always had a heart and a plan to forgive. You know, during the season, we always hear this. Jesus is the reason for the season, right? But we always stop there. We usually stop there. We don't go beyond. We don't dig deep beyond what that really means. And so today, just like the game of Operation, okay, we're going to dig a little bit deeper behind what this is all about. Okay? The whole Jesus' reason is this body, but today when we look at scriptures, we're just going to be picking out little scriptures here and there, and we're going to be sort of understanding what Jesus was all about and how he calls us to action. Amen? Does that make sense? All right, so the first passage is, you can write all this down if you have a pen and paper. The first passage is John the Baptist. So what is this all about? John the Baptist, before he was born, the angel came to his father Zechariah and tells him that you're going to have a son who's going to come in the spirit and power of Elijah. And that power is going to turn the hearts of the fathers to their children. That means basically the parents are going to humble themselves like their child, or like their children. And they're going to turn the disobedient to the wisdom of the righteous. That means there's one extreme from disobedience to wisdom when your son comes. That's what John the Baptist was going to become. Someone who was going to prepare a way for the Lord. He was born around 6 months probably prior to Jesus' birth. And then of course, Zechariah